Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dure nahi avaram karma buddhi yoga tanam jaya. Buddhau sharanam aviccha kripna falahetava.
Well done, Janaya. Keep all abdominal activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers.
Buddhi yukto jahatita vube sukrita dushkrute tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karma kausalam.
A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work.
Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishana janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchati anamayam.
By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead.
Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatita rishyati tada gantasi nirvedam srotya vyasya shrutasya cha.
When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard.
Shruti vipratipanna te yada tasyati nishala samadhav achala buddhis tada yogam avapyasi.
When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness.
Arjuna uvacha stita prajnasya ka bhasam samadhistasya keshava stitadhi kim prabhasesta kim ashita vracheta kim.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk?
Shri Bhagavan uvacha prajahati yada kaman sarvan pardhamanogatan atmani yevatmana tustam stita prajnastadochate.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness.
Dukke swanu vignapmanam sukeshu vigataspriha vitaraga bhaya krodha stitadir muniruchyate.
One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind.
Yas sarvatrana pina sneha tat prapya subhasubham na pinandati na tvesti tasya prajna pratistita.
In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge.
Yada samharate chayam kurmo gnaniva sarvasaha indriyanindriyabhyesya tasya prajna pratistita.
One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects and as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness.
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनां रसवर्ज्यं रसोऽप्यास्य परं परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते.
Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagement by experiencing a higher taste is fixed in consciousness.
यततो हि अपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चिता इन्द्रियाणि परमात्तिनि हरन्ति प्रसवं मनः.
The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them.
तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आशित मत्परः वसेयि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसा संगास्तेषु पजायते संगात् संजायते कामा कामात् क्रोधो विजायते.
While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises.
क्रोध भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृति भ्रमसात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति.
From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool.
रागद्वेष विमुक्तैस्तु विषयान् इन्द्रियैश्चरन् आत्मा व्यसैर्विधेयात्मा प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति.
But a person free from all attachment and aversion is able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom, can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord.
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्ना चेतसो हि आसु बुद्धिपर्यावतिष्ठते.
For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established.
नास्ति भुक्तिरयुक्तस्य न चायुतस्य भावना न भावयथा शान्तिरशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्.
One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace?
इन्द्रियाणां हि चरतां यन्मनो निविद्यते तत् यस्य हरति प्रज्ञां वायुर्नावम् इवाम्बसि.
As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence.
तस्माद् यस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियातेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
Therefore, O mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence.
यानि सा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागर्ति संयमी यस्यां जागर्ति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुने.
What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage.
अपूर्यमानम् अचिलप्रतिष्ठं समुद्रमाप प्रविशन्ति यद्वा तद्वत् कामयं प्रविशन्ति सर्वे सा शान्तिमाप्नोति न कामी.
A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enters the rivers that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires.
विहाय कामान् यः सर्वान् पुमश्चरति निःस्पृहः निर्ममो निरहङ्कार स शान्तिम् अधिगच्छति.
A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace.
ये सा ब्रह्मसितः पार्थ नैनं प्राप्य विमुह्यति स्थित्वास्यम् अन्तकालेऽपि ब्रह्मनिर्वाणमर्चति.
That is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful. So nicely recited. Girish Prabhu, English was so nice and clear, very precise. Thank you so much. And, you know, Mataji, the Sanskrit was fantastic, very quick and almost faultless. Really nice pronunciations. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So let me just stop sharing this and then we can share the PowerPoint and then go from there. Okay, devotees, so we're going to continue our reading from chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita. And today we're going to read two texts, 65 and 66, because 65 has got no purport. But before we get into that, we'll just do the summary as usual. Chapter summary. So text 2:1 to 2:10, June, he had further doubts. So the whole, almost whole of the...
Girish Prabhu. No, અત્યારે
one second. We'll just get the participants so I can mute. Okay, that's it. Sorry, yes. Yeah, so from the first chapter, Arjuna had so many doubts. And then in the second chapter, in the beginning, he actually, talked about more doubts. And then about the text 7, he then surrendered to Krishna. And then Krishna speaks after from text 9 onwards. So 11 to 30, Krishna gives Arjuna the jnana, mainly about the body of the soul. 31 to 38, Krishna took him through Karma Kanda section. 39 to 53, the Buddhi Yoga section. And now the current section, which is the last section, which is symptoms of a self-realized person. So we're going through the symptoms right now. And we'll begin with reciting verse 65. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 65. Prasade sarva dukhanam anir asyopajayate prasanna chetaso yasu buddhi parvyavatishtate. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no more. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. So this is saying thus, for one thus satisfied. So we must look at what does that mean. Remind ourselves of the text from yesterday. So yesterday, text 64, Krishna said, but a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. So then, of course, now we say, so somebody who is thus situated, the miseries, the threefold miseries of material existence do not exist for him. And in such satisfied consciousness, his intelligence is soon well established. Now, Prabhupada doesn't give any purport to this text, so we'll just move on to the next one. Text 266. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavana na cha bhavayata shanti ashantasya kuta sukham. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Go on to the purport, and I will see who's there. Okay, I have, let me go towards the end. Normally I just catch the people in the beginning. So, Rasilila Mataji, Rasilila Shrimati Mataji, maybe you could read the purport for us, please, if you can unmute yourself. Okay,
Hare
not there.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Oh, yeah, there. Okay, good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna. Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 5.29, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is a real friend of all living entities, then only one can have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Rasilila Shrimati Mataji. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunnivadi Prashata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So as usual, we'll try and dive into the purport and pick up the salient points. So Prabhupada starts saying, unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So as we know, there are many different paths to God realization or self-realization. But we have learned in so many places that all the other paths are troublesome. And Krishna consciousness is the ultimate path, which actually gives us peace of mind throughout the process. And this is explained by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 19.149. Does anybody know this verse about Krishna Bhaktas being Shanta? Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ateva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakaliya Shanta. So Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali, all of them are Shanta. The translation goes, because a devotee of Lord Krishna is desireless, he is peaceful. Fruity workers desire material enjoyment. Jnanis desire liberation. Yogis desire material opulence. Therefore, they are all lusty and cannot be peaceful. So you see, these are all actually paths for spirituality. But except for, of course, except for Kami. The Kamis are just basically materialists. But otherwise, yogis and jnanis also are seeking liberation. But because they have some desire, the jnanis have desire to gain knowledge, and through knowledge, they want to make progress. They want to get liberation. So there is an ulterior motive. Yogis, of course, they want some kind of siddhis, and they want to perfect their life through the siddhis. And of course so these two. So the point being that they will make progress, but very, very troublesome. So it is part of the purport that I've extracted, where Prabhupada explains all this. Prabhupada says, although karmis, jnanis, and yogis fulfill their desires by performing various activities, they are never satisfied. A karmi may work very hard to acquire $1 million, but as soon as he gets $1 million, he desires another million. For the karmi, there is no end of desire. The more the karmi gets, the more he desires. This is so true, isn't it? We know so many cases like that. The jnanis cannot be desireless because their intelligence is unsound. They want to merge into the Brahman effulgence. But even though they may be raised to that platform, they cannot be satisfied there. There are many jnanis or sannyasis who, after taking sannyas and giving up the world as false, return to the world to engage in politics or philanthropy or to open schools and hospitals. This means that they could not attain the real Brahman or Brahman Satyam, Brahma Satyam. They have to come down to the material platform to engage in philanthropic activity. So this is a very important point here. This means, this is a sentence, that this means that they could not attain the real Brahman. So because even if jnanis, whose goal is the Brahma Jyoti, if they attain the Brahma Jyoti properly, they may stay there because that's their desire, and they can stay there. Although it doesn't have, it only has a Sat aspect of Satchidananda, but they may be happy with that. And there are many, many souls. The whole of Brahma Jyoti is made up of tiny, tiny spirit sparks who make up the Brahma Jyoti. So they are there. Uncounted quantity of souls are there. But those who don't quite make it because of the impure minds, they have to come down again, and then they engage in all kinds of different activities. So this is explained in the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 2nd chapter, text 32, where Lord Brahma and the demigods are speaking. And they are saying this particular beautiful verse. Prabhupada quotes this verse quite often. You will, I'm sure you recognize this. It says, Yene Ravin Daksha Vimukta Maninas Vayasta Bhava Avishuddha Buddhaya Aruhya Krichena Param Padam Tata Patantyado Nadrit Yushmat Angreha. So someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and other demigods said, and they're talking to Lord Krishna, he says, "O Lord, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated," this is the point, right? They may think themselves liberated, but their intelligence is impure. They fall down from the position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So this explains that, yes, that process is so hard, and even after so much austerity, so much penance, so much hard work, you almost make it. But even then, you may fall down because the mind is impure, because you haven't surrendered, or you have no knowledge for the lotus feet of the Lord. Prabhupada continues in the purport. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 529, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, and that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Again, a very famous verse, 529. I'm sure a lot of you know this. Anybody? The peace formula verse. Where are all the scholars today?
Hare
Somebody
Krishna
doesn't-
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, who was that?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhavati Mataji. Can you recite 529? Recite 529?
Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvalokamaheshwaram suradam sarvabhutanam jnatva mam shantim rachyati.
Haribo, thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhavati Mataji. So here, what Prabhupada mentions in the purport is confirmed here in the translation. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So in the purport, again, there's an excerpt here. Under the spell of illusion, Prabhupada says, living entities are trying to be the lords of all their survey. But actually, they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is a master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve real peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. So the idea here being, once we understand this fact, once we completely digest and fully accept this fact that the Lord is supreme master, he is the enjoyer of everything, he is the master of all the universes, and I am just a tiny little spark, and I am just a servant of the Lord. So by that understanding, what we are able to do, hopefully, with some guidance from our spiritual masters, is to give up the mentality of trying to control our lives. So devotees, that doesn't mean that we just become irresponsible and sit down and do nothing. That means that we continue, we carry on performing our duties, whatever they may be, but we don't run after the results, or we don't get attached to the results, knowing that karma is my duty, but the results are in the Lord's hands and He's in control. So I give the steering wheel of my life to the Lord. Of course, in the meantime, I do my duties and I try and remain as much as possible in the mode of goodness. That is my duty. As a human being, that is what we need to do. Do our karma and do our karma in the mode of goodness, but remain unattached to the results. Once you do that, it actually it lifts a huge load of our shoulders. Imagine. So I was just thinking, we used to go in the early days. We used to go to a lot of holidays, which we used to like to do. Friends used to go together, and we used to plan our holidays. So we didn't go on like guided holidays. We used to book our own flights, we book our own hotels or apartments, and then we'd day to day plan our activities for the day. So quite troublesome because from the time to begin booking the tickets, finding the best route, finding the cheapest fares, finding the best accommodation. And when you get there, you need to find your way from the airport to the accommodation. Then you're there, you need to go shopping, get all the groceries and things so you can arrange some cooking for yourselves. Then you're going to sit down with the maps and work out where you're going to, for the 2 weeks you're there, what you're going to do. We plan out your days. And then along the way, you get lots of problems in terms of getting lost and all that. But now compared to that, that is the state of our lives. We're trying to plan every little detail of our lives ourselves, and it's so troublesome. But opposed to that, you have a holiday which is fully guided, right? You pay for everything, and you all need to do is turn up at the airport. From the time you turn up at the airport, even your checking in is taken over by the guide. On the other side, when you land, all your luggage is all collected by the guide. It's put into the coach, and the coach takes you sit and relax. Coach takes you to your destination, your accommodation. All you're going to do is turn up at the times which have been allocated. So they say, okay, we'll meet tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock for our excursion to so and so. All you need to do is get ready and get to that coach. That's it. Then you relax. The rest is taken over by the guide. So similarly, if we can leave, we can have that faith to leave our life to the Lord. We can be peaceful. We know that the world is full of tour guides, but in the Supreme Lord, we have the supreme tour guide who knows our best interests, and He will guide us in the best possible way. Complete faith. You sit in that coach and you have complete faith in that driver. There's a story about a little girl who's traveling on a plane, a long-haul journey, and next to her is a priest who'd gone for some conference and he's coming back. And suddenly there's heavy turbulence, massive turbulence. So everybody is praying. People are sort of, getting really worried, holding on to the seats. Some starts to pray. The priest himself is starting to pray because this turbulence is getting heavier and heavier. At some point, the plane just goes high, where it's taken up by the wind, by the current, and then suddenly it drops a few meters, and it feels like you're going to now crash. So amongst all that, suddenly this priest looks next to him, and this little girl she's got a book with some pictures in it, and she's just flipping the pages, looking at the pictures, completely relaxed. Anyway, at the end, everything is fine, and then they land. When they land, the priest is asking this girl, how come you are not scared? So the girl says, the pilot is my dad, and he's taking me home. Because her dad was a pilot, she knew that the dad's not going to let the plane crash. So this is the faith, this is the kind of faith we need to have in the Lord to have complete peace. So sadhus, they are in this situation. The sadhus, because they are completely reliant on the Lord, they're able to experience this kind of peace. And there's a beautiful verse here spoken by Lord Kapila Dev to Devhuti in third canto of Bhagavatam, text, chapter 25, text 23. Madashraya katha mrishta shruvanti kathayanti cha tapanti vividastapa naitan mat kata chetasa. Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they're always filled with the thoughts of my pastimes. So we just read text 65 in this chapter, where it says that for those who are satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries does not have any existence for them. So here you can see why. Because their consciousness is in Krishna. They're not even thinking about the material miseries. So the miseries are there. Sometimes people say, oh, but you can see, big devotees even going through miseries. They're falling ill, they are suffering. Yeah, so from our point of view, we can see that they've got disease and they are suffering. It looks superficially that they're suffering, but internally they have peace because they are not quite connected to the miseries. It is like some of you may have gone through surgery. I had the misfortune to go through open heart surgery in 2013. And severe surgery. They would actually they cut your ribs from the front here with a chainsaw, almost. It's obviously it's a medical instrument, but it looks like a chainsaw, and it cut your ribs open, and then there's a device that pries open your chest completely like that, so that they can work on your heart. That kind of surgery. But did I know anything about it? I had no consciousness of it. Why? Because of anesthesia. Because of the anesthetics, I had no idea what was going on. Neither do I have any memory of what was going on. Because what does anesthetics do? It cuts the signals between the mind and the body. The senses are not connecting, so you're not feeling any pain. So similarly, these sadhus. So the more we are detached from the material world and material existence, the less we will feel the material pains and problems. That is the point. And of course, that gives us peace. There's a part of purport put down here. So purport for that thing. I'll just read that quickly. There are multifarious miseries in material existence. Those pertaining to the body and the mind, and those imposed by other living entities, and those imposed by natural disturbances. We know this Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, Adi Adhyatmik. But a sadhu is not disturbed by such miserable conditions because his mind is always filled with Krishna consciousness. And thus he does not like to talk about anything but activities of the Lord. Maharaj Ambrish, last week we spoke about Maharaj Ambrish, did not speak of anything but the pastimes of the Lord. Vasamsi Vaikunta Gunanuvartane, Bhagavatam 9.4.18. He engages words only in glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sadhus are always interested in hearing about the activities of the Lord or his devotees. Since they are filled with Krishna consciousness, they are forgetful of the material miseries. Ordinary conditioned souls, being forgetful of the activities of the Lord, are always full of anxieties and material tribulations. On the other hand, since the devotees always engage in the topics of the Lord, they are forgetful of the miseries of material existence. So that's the situation. So we need to get ourselves deeper and deeper into Krishna consciousness, and that way we feel peace because we are not engaged too much with the material miseries. Prabhupada continues in the purport, therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. So you see, goal for the mind is very important. Otherwise, our mind is all over the place. We must have a singular goal. And our goal, spiritually, actually, even materially speaking, as we know, even whether it's our careers, whether it's our family planning for family future or whatever, all that needs some kind of focus, goal in mind. So similarly, in bhakti, we need a goal in mind. The difficulty with most Hindus, so sorry to say this, and I was one of them before I came to Krishna consciousness, is we have even our devotional, so-called devotional life is multi-branched. We believe in this, we also believe in this, we also believe in this, we also believe in this. In the end, we don't really believe in anything much. So, beauty about Krishna consciousness and beauty about how, especially Srila Prabhupada has given his purports, is that it actually focuses our mind into one truth, the ultimate truth, that the Supreme Lord, Supreme Absolute Truth is Lord Krishna, and my duty as a part and parcel of the Lord is to serve him. Single-mindedness. So there's a verse in the second chapter which we did recently, 241. It says, Yavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahu sakhayanantasya buddhaya vyavasayina. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Gurus, this is Guru Nandana, O beloved child of the Gurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. So these other paths, they're going to have so many different directions that's pulling our mind. But we're not going to, in the end, we're not going to, get too far. In the purport again, Prabhupada says the resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatmasu dullabha. A person in Krishna consciousness is a rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva, or Krishna, is the root of all manifested causes. And by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches. So by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. So powerful, so powerful. We do not need to run around doing this puja, that puja, satisfying this demigod, satisfying the other demigod. No, everything is satisfied once Krishna is satisfied. 11th Canto, chapter 5, text 41. Beautiful verse says, Devarshi bhutapta ninam pitrinam na kinkaro nayam rinicha rajan sarvatmaya sharanam sarvatmaya sharanam saranyam gato mukundam parihitya kartam. So it says, Devarshi, Deva, Rishi, so Devas and Rishis, so for demigods and Rishis, we are indebted. Bhuta, to living entities, we are indebted. Apta, our family members, were indebted. Ninam, general public, we are indebted for various things. Pitrinam, our forefathers, were indebted. So we can see why we're indebted. So Devarshis. So Devas, we're indebted because they have given us. The Devas are supplying all the necessities to us. The Devas are giving us rain. The Devas are giving us sunshine. Without rain and sunshine, we would not have crops. So you can see we are indebted to them. Rishis, they've given us all the wonderful shastras that we can use to perfect our human life. We're indebted. Bhuta, so Bhuta means other living entities like Even cows, we are indebted because they are giving us milk. Bulls, we are indebted because they are helping us plow the land. After our family members, of course, we're indebted. They're always helping us. So all other living entities, there are so many our friends, people in society are always helping us. Pritinam, by our forefathers, we have this body. But although we are indebted to all that, then it says, Na kinkaro nayam rini charajan, na kinkaro nayam rini charajan. So we are not servants to them, nor we are rini, nor we owe them anything. How? Sarvatmana ya sharanam charanyam. One who's taken the shelter of the one who is worthy of taking shelter of. And who is that? Tato mukundam parihita karta. Mukunda, the one who's giver of liberation, Lord Krishna. If you have surrendered to him, you have no other obligation to any of the other things that we mentioned. So, and just to summarize, we read 41 just now about Sayatmika Buddhi, single-mindedness. 42 or 43 says, men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. These are the karmis. And 44 says, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So as long as we remain attached to all these things, the devotional service of the Lord will not be established in our hearts. So therefore, Prabhupada says in this purport, the disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. And ultimately, Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness, the self-manifest peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. So devotees, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Acharyas, the Goswamis, and Srila Prabhupada, we have been given the perfect formula. We do not need to run around here and there. We are very, very fortunate that by some good Sukriti, we came in touch with some devotees, and in turn, we came in touch with the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. And we have been given this wonderful path, which is so straightforward to follow. It is so simple. Prabhupada used to say that devotional service in Krishna consciousness is so simple that if you're not careful, you might miss it. So devotees, it's 8:35 almost. I will stop here, and I will invite any questions, any realizations.
Can I ask a question, Mukunda-Hari, Prabhu?
Oh, yes, please, Harsha Mataji. We are very, very faint. I don't know whether it's my computer or whether it's...
No, I suspect it is my computer. Does that help?
Okay, yeah, I think it's, yeah, we can just about make out. Go on.
I'm using an old computer. So I wanted to ask, we talked, you talked earlier about, people thinking that they're liberated, but they're not. And it just made me wonder as to, obviously people must have undergone some sort of change to think that they're liberated. What is it that people seem to mistake as liberation in their minds when they think that they are liberated?
Yeah, it's a good point, Harsha Mataji. To be honest, Prabhupada doesn't give the exact description there, but he does mention that because of impure mind, in that verse 10:32:2, because they're impure minds. So it means that they've done all the austerities, they've done all the penances, they have almost got there, And about a couple of months ago, I had invited Karthik Chandra Prabhu to our mentee meeting to explain this very point to us, because I was quite confused about it, and some of the other mentees were also. So we wanted clarification. He gave an amazing clarification of this with lots of diagrams and everything. And he was showing in one particular diagram that, for example, if that is the level of Brahmajyoti, right? So if you are up on this level of the Brahmajyoti, then you are actually liberated, because Brahmajyoti, your Sayuja Mukti, although as devotees, we do not like that. We don't like to think about that. We reject that Sayuja Mukti because we do not want to lose our identity and become one with the Lord, or even one with the Brahmajyoti. We want to remain always separate and serve the Lord. So we don't like it, but it is still one of the 5 muktis, as we know. So yes, there are souls who are liberated like that, and they are there. But these ones that we are speaking about here, who fall back, is who have actually made it all the way up to here. And in the diagram, he showed the edge here. And at the edge, they're almost there. If they moved a few more yards or meters, they would be on top and they would not fall down. But when you're at the edge of the cliff, then you will fall down. So that means that they haven't quite perfected it, haven't quite made it, because of some lack in their sadhana. And this is what impure mind sort of indicates. Does that make sense, Harshabha?
It does, because I suppose I had it in my mind that, these people who think they're liberated, but they're not. They've kind of got, like a checklist, and they're going tick, tick, tick. I've done all of this. So
Yes.
I'm getting liberated by doing all these things. It's obviously not as simple as that.
Yeah, that's the point. You see, because when you're there, when they're at the edge, right, they actually, to themselves, they're saying, okay, we made it. They think they made it, but they haven't, and they will fall back.
I suppose just the fact that they're thinking they're liberated is
Yes.
their downfall.
That's it, exactly. Absolutely, yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Harshabha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any comments? There's just to basically, there's no more questions. I'll just mention one more verse that comes to mind about taking the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. There's a beautiful verse in the 10th canto, chapter 14, text 58, which talks about this, how we can surrender to the Lord. It says, Samashritaya padapallavaplavam. Again, this is a verse that Prabhupada quotes quite often. Samashritaya padapallavaplavam. Mahat padam punya yasho murare. Pavambudir vatsa padam param padam. Padam padam yakti padam natesha. So here it says, Samashritaya padapallava plavam. Beautiful poetry here. So the lotus feet of the Lord are compared to padam is feet, but pallava. Pallava means buds, like flower buds, soft as flower buds. His feet are described as like compared to soft flower buds. And plavam plavam means a boat. So his feet are like flower buds, but they are compared to a boat, right? And whose feet are they? Mahat padam punya yasho murare. So Mahat means one who is the shelter of the whole cosmic manifestation. Mahat padam. Punya yasho murare. He is yasho murare. He is famous as the killer of or enemy of demon Mura. So people samashritaya, which means people who have taken the shelter of this boat of the lotus feet of this Lord. For them, bhavam vatsa padam param padam. So bhava means this sansar. Sansar means this material nature. So the ocean of the material nature, and we're not talking about like the oceans or like the Atlantic Ocean. No, the whole material nature is an ocean. That is compared vatsa padam param padam. is compared for those devotees who have taken the shelter of the Lord, spiritual Lord. That whole ocean of material existence is compared to the water contained in the hoof print of a calf. Vatsa padam, param padam. Padam padam, yat vipadam natesham. So it says, so for those devotees, their destination is the spiritual world where param padam, where there is no anxiety. Not this place, yat vipadam natesham, not this place where there is danger at every step. So again, we were talking about earlier about taking shelter of the Lord and completely surrendering unto Him. This is the result. Then our life, this whole material existence, Prabhupada uses the term struggle for existence. We're all struggling. So that becomes like a little water in a hoof print of a calf. How easy it will be for us to cross over. I just thought I'd share that. Right, before we close, any last thoughts, anybody? Yes, there's something in the here. One second, there's something in the chat here. I'm not paying attention. So, oh, sorry, it's just people. Well, Divya Goring Mataji is saying yes. Thank you very much. Inspiring. Divya Goring, thank you thank you for your encouragement. Chetna Mataji said, very good example using the travel and turbulence to explain faith. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah. Divya Goring Mataji talking about the nice verse at the end. Thank you so much. Yes, so any final points, devotees, before we call it a day?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a wonderful class. Just a point of clarification. You said when they go to the Brahma Jyoti, then they stay there eternally, or once there is no piety to be burnt off to come down again, is there? When they go to Brahma Jyoti.
No, so see that the piety to burn down is only in the Swarga Lokas, in the heavenly planets. Yes. But if you have finally actually really achieved the Brahma Jyoti, and that was your desire, then you will remain there. Because
forever.
Like I was saying, there is some thought. This is why this can get confusing, because sometimes you will hear lectures where people will say that they all fall down. But the point that Kartik Chandra made us understand is that they all don't fall down.
Okay.
The ones who haven't quite made it fall down, but those who have actually made it, they remain there because that is their destination. They want to remain in Sat. They want to remain just there without any activity, but remain as part and parcel of the Brahma Jyoti.
Okay. So is there, you said they're like little sparks. Do they generate light as well? So the part of these effulgence that is created, is it part of their spark as well?
Exactly. Just like a ray of sun, for example. A ray of sun looks like one homogeneous beam, doesn't it, when it comes through the window?
Yes.
But actually it's made up of millions of protons, little light cells, which make up the beam. Similarly, the whole of Brahma Jyoti is made up of these little tiny sparks, which are the tiny souls. Wow. Just as the Lord has his own sharir and the Brahma Jyoti is coming from there.
Yes.
Right? And that Brahma Jyoti covers the whole of the spiritual sky. But similarly, these little souls, we are also part of the soul, part of the parts of the Lord. So we also have our own Jyoti, but it's very, very, very tiny. In the material world, it's completely covered. But when they reach the Brahma Jyoti, it then it gets to its shiny stage.
Okay. So sorry, one more question is, so then they can't come down ever to go back eternally to the abode. Can they come down again and go back to the eternal abode?
Yeah. So here's again, the thing is that when they are there, it is possible. Some actually do progress from there to the Lord's abode. And how that was explained by Kartik Chandra was by the mercy and by their own previous Sukritis. So if they have had some So the Lord may be merciful to them because there was maybe some tinge, or maybe there was some connection with some devotees during their path, although they never took to it. Say, for example, somebody is on this session today, and that person has heard this lecture, but that person actually convinced about the Brahmajyoti, and he doesn't take any heed of this. But the fact that he's heard this lesson, it remains dormant sukriti there. It remains as another sukriti, right? And that kind of sukriti can then propel that soul forward from a Brahmajyoti onto the abodes of the Lord.
Really nice. Thank you, Prabhuji, for that clarification. Thank you.
Yeah, these are all explanations from Kartik Chandra Prabhu. So not
There's
my
a nice
own.
question from Jai Prabhu. I just saw it on the chat. It's
Jay
linked.
Prabhu, sorry, 1 second. Yeah, Jay said, why would one want to join the Brahmajyoti and lose independence? How people are. So there you go. You see how people are there. So yeah, there are people. You'll be surprised, Jay Prabhu, that there is a big number of people who have been brought up with this concept of the fact that the Brahmajyoti is the supreme truth. Everything else emanates from there. Even Krishna is a product of Brahmajyoti. This is the teaching. So for that reason, the aim is the Brahmajyoti. And there are many people like that, right? But us, we brought up in the Vaishnava traditions. We have always been brought up with the concept of Bhagwan and Bhakta. So for us, there's always two. So our philosophy is called Dvaita, and their philosophy is Advaita. They're saying that in the final stage, there is no difference between us and the Lord. So for them, the supreme truth is the Brahmajyoti, and there is no difference between the perfection. I hope that makes sense, Jai Prabhu.
Yes, thank you, Daji. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, it's coming up to 10 to 9, so we better give it a break. Thank you so much, devotees, once again for taking the time out to come to these sessions. Oh yeah, one more thing. On Thursday, there is a wonderful session by the kids promoting the Bhagavatam. So please, all of us, we can invite our friends to that session. Divinam Prabhu has shared that link on all the platforms. So please look it up. I think it's 7 p.m. on Thursday. Let's get on the sessions. Invite our friends who we are trying to convince to take a Bhagavatam set for Bhadra Purnima. Just rather than us trying to explain everything, let them come to the session. Let the kids explain to them why Bhagavatam is so important, and then you can follow up with them and close the deal. But yeah, please do invite your friends and family to that session. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Srila Prabhupada. So Hema Mataji, you're saying something?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai.
Everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Miraben. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mukesh
Hare
bhai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Bharat Prabhu. Bye. Kem cho?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Mataji. Long time no here.
Yes, lot of services going on at the moment at the
Of course.
temple.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, are you doing the next session of the Bhagavatam with the Divina with
Yes, not with. Yes.
I really want to
We're
do
missing you, Prabhu.
No,
Literally.
I know I really wanted to be there, but I have so many services that I had to then either I had a choice of to drop the services or do this. So in the end, I just thought I'd have to, because I wasn't doing services properly whilst I was doing my Bhakti Vaibhav.
Yes.
So
No, I
that's why-
have to do it. I do, and I come off early because I have to do the service to South London. So I leave at 4 o'clock or quarter past 4 or 4 o'clock. And then I hear the recording, but it's not the same when you are hearing the recording.
Of course.
because at the last part, I mean, there is more discussion than in the front, you know.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I miss that bit. And
Yes.
sometimes I don't get the recording till the day or a couple of days before. So
And
you
also to find
lose
time
out.
to listen to, I find that just to find time to listen to the recording is also a challenge of
Yes,
life.
so true, because you have to find that time, that gap.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, but
Definitely.
today we were, and obviously we came late because doing everything at the temple for Janmashtami. So it was 8 o'clock. I said, no, we must hear Mukunda-Hari Prabhu. And I'm missing Rinman Chandra's class and Divya Gorangi's class. I mean, everybody's literally. So it's so much difficult now because I travel quite a bit to Soho.
Of course, yes.
Doing all the services and then services in South London. So it's a bit too much. But I enjoy doing the services actually.
Of course. No, that's of course part and parcel. Services are very, very important.
Yeah.
And these sessions are also recorded, but of course, again, you need to find time to find
Yes, I hear the recordings,
okay.
but sometimes you hear the recording while you're doing something, right?
Yes.
And now we are sitting down and listening, so it goes into our mind and we can hear something, you know,
absolutely right.
better, and we can actually make, we are aware of things that we do literally. But
hopefully after Janmashtami,
it's good. It's because household chores and running up and down, and it's a
not
bit
easy.
tiring. But what can we do?
Not easy. Anyway, but at least we are engaged in Krishna consciousness, so we should thank Krishna for giving us the opportunity to do these services.
Yes, when the services come, I just take it because we don't know
exactly
when
That's a very nice
will
attitude.
happen, you know.
Very nice attitude. Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Prabhu. Nice
Thank
talking
you,
to
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Very Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.